Alrighty, everybody, let's get into some fun animal news. And don't forget to check our videos out at Creature Guide Live Prehistoric. So, ready from phys.org. Study says African penguins. Oh, great. This was already a year before with these unfortunate little African penguins. So, African penguins, do you know how large these specific individuals are? I'm not like, I'm just wondering if you've heard about these specific
Are you referring
birds.
to are those little tiny ones that weigh, like, what is it, 5 pounds or something?
No, you're probably thinking of the little penguins, which weigh somewhere around 2 to 3 pounds,
Oh, yeah.
and, those are also off the coast of Southern Australia, whereas this is off the coast of South Africa and Namibia. So, African penguins are somewhere around 6 to 7 pounds, or a little over 3 kilograms. So, they've been having a massive problem for a couple of reasons off the coast of South Africa, and it seems that the main issue last time I saw is due to, um, otters at one point picking them off, and then I think even certain, possible leopard not leopard, caracal, populations over, adjacent to certain protected areas off the coast. So the caracal is a 30-pound or 13-kilogram predator, closely related to the serval and the cheetah. So, endangered penguins living off South Africa's coast have likely starved in mass due to food shortages, study said, with some populations dropping by 95% in just 8 years. Oh, fewer than 10,000 breeding pairs of small black and white African penguins. That is that is not good. Fewer than 10,000 breeding pairs of the small black and white African penguin are left globally. According to scientists, two of the most important breeding colonies near Cape Town had collapsed between 2004 and 2011, with some 62,000 birds estimated to have died. I also thought read something stating that there might have been disease as a part of this massive die-off. Um, I don't remember seeing anything about certain fish stocks or cephalopod supplied, like, such as the squid in the region that were having, like, some negative impact. In those 8 years, sardine populations in South African waters, the main food source for penguins, were consistently below 25% of their peak abundance. What? How? Were the orcas in the region, or people over harvesting?
Every time I hear something about sardines, I don't know why it makes me think just canned sardines.
Well, I always think of cloudy chance meatballs. So, um,
Okay, yours
and
is
and
stranger.
yeah, and the, those rat birds, anyway. In those 8 years, this drop in sardine stocks was due to fishing practices combined with environmental causes such as changes in water temperatures and salinity. This appears to have caused um, severe food shortage for African penguins, leading to an estimated loss of about 62,000 breeding individuals. The global populations of the species had declined by nearly 80% in the past 30 years. Yeah, it's been quite insane since the '90s. So, going conservationists say that at the current rate of population increase, the bird could be extinct in the wild by 2035. 10 years, authorities have imposed a commercial fishing ban around 6 penguin colonies, including Robben and Jasper Islands, 2 sites observed in the study. I mean, how badly of overfishing is occurring with these sardine populations for it to be below 25% of their, overall rate? I mean, that's pretty insane. Let's see. Other initiatives underway include artificial nests and creating new colonies. The birds are a strong attraction for tourists to South Africa, with thousands of people visiting colonies each year. But the pressure from tourism also disturbs the birds and causes enhanced stress. I would guess if people are deciding to go over to the penguins, I would understand that. But I think if you're just keeping your distance, they're just somewhat used to people. Um,
So, these aren't violent penguins.
no, no, no. These Um, yeah, if you take out, what occurs, like, with adoption with, certain penguin species, most penguins are pretty docile.
think you need to explain what you're talking about.
Oh, it's just simply like, it's especially common in emperor penguins during the, um, birth time of their young, where you can have it where a number of mothers lost their eggs and or simply their eggs didn't hatch. There ends up being a couple of straggling chicks that can't find their parents, and you end up having a bunch of mothers literally crushing the baby to death just because they want to adopt it.
Wait, what about the one where you're the thing about uh, the penguins that literally fight each other? Uh,
Oh, well, okay, I was just talking about, um, when it came to violence towards people. There are many instances with different species of penguin and the males, fighting over certain females where they're poking their eyes out, severing their necks. It gets pretty fatal. So,
Wait a minute,
uh,
that's over mating? I thought that was over the adoption.
no, no, that's over a specific female. It wasn't the emperor. This was a smaller species of penguin. But there's also around 21 different species of penguin worldwide.
I mean, I thought that wasn't that the little penguins that do that?
No, it was the emperors.
That
Crush the
gouge each other's
babies.
eyes out?
Oh, no, 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 I don't think it was wasn't a Gen 2 penguin. Um, what's that other one? It was in Surf's Up. I forgot. Let's head to the next article. Let's see, from IFLscience.com, meet the ladybird spider, a red-colored oddball with features never seen before. Its entirely redhead is a first for the genus. There was a picture, like, right here. Hmm, it's quite, yeah, orange. This is Arrestus. Okay, this is Arrestus rubocephalus. Interesting. So they gave it a species name almost like a pachycephalosaur. There are some seriously beautiful spiders in the world, but the species we currently have a crush on is Arrestus rubocephalus, kind of ladybird spider. It's not just any ladybird spider, however, with unique traits scientists have never seen in its genus. That was a weird opening. The new to science species was first described in September 2025 from specimens found in a cork oak tree, Corsus suber, forest in Morocco. Oh, okay. I was thinking of something from North America. So we're over in North Africa. So it's Western Africa specifically. The investigating scientists noticed that it had a strikingly red head, unlike other known species within the ladybird genus Aresus, causing them to question if they were looking at a new species. So, named for the black dots on their red bodies, ladybird spiders typically have black heads covered in small black hairs, describing it as a red colored oddball. They saw that this new spider had red hairs covering its head and front body and even had red uh, Calicari mouthparts. Ladybird spiders also usually have circular shaped black dots on their bodies, whereas this new spider appeared to have dots more like a teardrop.
I'm sorry, but mouth parts? That just sounds funny.
Yeah,
Like someone got lazy with what they were saying writing.
well, I think it's referring to the specific pincer areas, but I have to double check on that. It's quite a complex mouth. Further differences were seen in the male reproductive anatomy, as it had a deep U-shaped groove and a curved terminal tooth on its pedipalps, which is a specialized appendage used to transfer sperm. Genetic analysis also revealed differences that exceeded the threshold for naming a new species, and so Arrestus rubrocephalus was born. The species name is a hat tip to its unusually red head, with rubro taken from the Latin rubro taken from the Latin rubber for red, and cephalus being the Greek for head. Oh, okay, for the, rubber, I think it's how I'm supposed to pronounce it. I didn't know that, but yes, for cephalus, because as in like a pachycephalosaur. So its discovery is a significant one because it's a reminder that Earth's biodiversity is far from fully cataloged. There are even discoveries to be made among animal groups scientists thought they knew well. Ladybird spiders are among the most recognizable spiders in the world, and yet we're only getting to know new members of the genus. I think it would differ depending on the person, but It could be argued that we're living in a golden age. Hold on a second. Is there anything else? Um, Hold on a second. Scientists were able to achieve this aesthetic quirk by injecting unfertilized oocytes in female spiders with a gene editing system that included a red fluorescent protein gene sequence. When these female spiders then mated with males, their resulting offspring fired a kind of silk never seen before. Hold on a second. This was due to the did you hear about the world's first CRISPR edited spider that produces glowing red silk from its spinnerets? Huh. Well, that's an interesting um, experiment, and it worked. Wow, interesting. Okay. Well, let's head on to the next article. Okay, so from globaltimes.cn, China's first footage of wild Siberian tigress with 5 cubs captured in northeast China. The reason why this is kind of exciting is because for a while now the tigers have mainly been concentrated over in um, deep eastern Russia. So this is good to hear that they're coming back to northeastern China. And wow, 5 cubs. That is extraordinary. I mean, um, it is possible for tigers to have 5 or 6 cubs at once, but it's just successfully raising them. Now, at this point, they're still small.
They don't look that small.
Hold on a second. There's another one. Yeah. There he is.
He just came out of nowhere. Hold on, I wanna see it again. Okay, and I mean, I guess they're small, they don't look tiny,
Um, yeah, I wonder how much they weigh at this point. Guessing this is like some part of the spring.
and he's like, "I'm too cool to hang out with you guys."
It definitely seems that way. Yeah, look at this. They're all quite healthy. Fur seems to be quite intact. So, the 6 tiger family actually, here, let's keep going.
Do tiger families hang out together? Or once they grow up, do they separate?
You mean do the siblings, venture off in their own ways? The females will stay within within their mother's territory for a period of time, sometimes even creating, other smaller territories, at least coinciding with their mother's own, home range. The males, however, will disperse far, from their mother.
You know at what age they do it?
At somewhere around 2 to 3 years of age, and then, it's very similar to lions, leopards. But, what was the other thing? You can have it where or at least I haven't heard it where her daughters can occasionally help with raising other young, but I think it is possible. So in a groundbreaking moment for wildlife conservation, camera traps in the Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park captured the China's first footage of a wild Siberian tigress with 5 cubs in November. The Global Times learned from the Worldwide Wild Fund of Nature on Friday. Also, something to mention about tigers is that you can have it despite them usually being solitary hunters and not including females hunting with their young. When, let's say, there's a couple of brothers, you can have it where they will leave their mother or she'll kick them out. But for a period of time, they will live in the same territory and hunt the same food. So they're somewhat pack hunters for a period of time until finally dispersing. And then they live a solitary life. Wild Siberian tigers typically give birth to 1 to 4 cubs, making 5 cubs an exceptionally rare occurrence even in regions with abundant prey. Experts note that 5 cubs surviving to this age in a landscape where prey availability is still recovering and nothing short of extraordinary. This footage provides invaluable insight into tiger reproduction and signals positive progress for the species recovery in northeast China, according to a statement WWF sent to the Global Times. They're probably, I'm guessing, feeding on wild boar herds within the region, probably even going after female brown bears, possibly even their cubs. And also, the brown bears within this region are around 5 to 600 pounds, and also the tigers are around the same size, if not slightly larger. So, see, what's another thing? They might even go after red deer or sika deer within the region. Siberian tigress estimated to be 9 years old. Whoa, okay, I didn't realize that they knew this specific tiger. So apparently, This animal or specific individual has been tracked for some time. Was recorded alongside her cubs, each about 6 to 8 months old. This family is distinct from another recently recorded tigress with four cubs. The continuous recording of multiple tiger families breeding in the national park underscore the success of ongoing conservation efforts in the region. This extraordinary footage literally took my breath away. It is rare worldwide to film a mother tiger with five cubs and is definitely a first in China. China's commitment to tiger conservation is delivering incredible results and creating a bright future for these magnificent cats. The footage of the six tiger family being captured within the Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park further illustrates the significance of building the park to enhance its conservation capacity in Siberian tiger and Siberian leopard population recovery. I'm guessing this is referring to the Amur leopard, which its population continues to climb, which is good to hear. I think it's somewhere between 150 to 200 individuals at the moment. There were like 30 to 40 of them back in 2005, 2006. So that was about 20 years ago. I don't think there is a lot of genetic variety, unfortunately, within that specific subspecies of leopard. Now let's keep going. The China's first footage of six wild tigers in one frame recorded in China reflects that the country's conservation actions have been effective and sustained. It also showcases China's. Wait, did I already say that? I already said that. Years of conservation efforts show. Okay, that's being a little repetitive. Let's see. Alrighty. Siberian tigers, also known as Amur tigers, mainly live in Russia's far east and northeast China. The NCTLNP is the world's largest tiger reserve and a critical habitat for the endangered species. Approximately 70 wild Siberian tigers are now living in the park, while there were only 12 to 16 in 1998. So, take another look. I think that's about it. Okay, well, that's good to see with that specific female and her cubs. Hopefully, they make it to adulthood. So, heading to the next article from Earth.com. What do we have here?
Are those shrimp?
Yeah, it seems to be that way. Somewhere deep in wonder what ocean. Giant crustaceans inhabit most of Earth's deep ocean floors, according to a surprising study. Um, that's a new thing. Okay, well, let's take a look. Sometimes scientists will label a creature as being rare simply because it's hard to find. One such example is the supergiant amphipod Alicella gigantea, which can reach about 13.4 inches in length. So let's see. After years of scattered sightings, A. gigantea is now confirmed to appear far more than often suspected. Far more often than suspected. According to new findings presented by Dr. Paige J. Moroni from the University of Western Australia, this hefty crustacean, which looks like a giant white shrimp, that's what I thought, seems to have been hiding in plain sight. Historically, it has been sampled or observed infrequently relative to other deep sea amphipods, which suggested low population densities. And because it was not often found, little was known about the demography, genetic variation, and population dynamics, with only 7 studies published on DNA sequence data. The amphipods are a distinct group of animals related to the arthropods, which there were many different species of arthropods over in the ocean back in the Paleozoic era. So during the time of the Cambrian, the Ordovician period, so when there were many species of trilobites, Eurypterids, or sea scorpions. Let's see. Researchers have known for decades that amphipods are found in nearly every aquatic environment on Earth, including lakes, coral reefs, and ocean trenches. Many species occupy extreme depths, with the hadal zones extending well below 19,700 feet into waters under crushing pressure. Wow, I actually didn't know that. That's it's quite interesting. Amphipods are a diverse group of crustaceans that share some traits with shrimp, yet many adapt in unexpected ways. You can flourish in low temperatures and pitch black conditions,
Do
which
they taste good in cocktail sauce?
um I I mean they could. I just for me cocktail sauce is too strong. So ketchup, yes. Which explains how
Ugh.
what? It's okay. Which explains how they manage life in the deepest parts of our planet. The earliest camera evidence of A. gigantea or Aliselic gigantea emerged in the North Pacific at around 17,400 feet. Wow, that's pretty far down.
Put in the chat if you use ketchup with shrimp.
Okay, fine. I guess butter, melted butter is good, unless I'm mixing it up with lobster, which is a bit more distantly related. So, yeah, wrong animal family. For more than 20 years, this species remained elusive, and scientists suspected it was truly uncommon. Only a handful of physical samples turned up, making it look like these giant scavengers existed in scattered pockets. As field expeditions continued, a larger picture began to form, and that picture changed everything. Scientists compiled 195 records from multiple expeditions worldwide to piece together a sweeping view of Ascilla gigantea. Genetic data from two mitochondrial genes and one nuclear gene showed minimal differences across populations, reinforcing the idea that this amphipod likely moves around the depths with few barriers. It appears that this species has a presence in a vast network of trenches and plains spanning the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. As exploration of the deep sea increases to depths beyond most conventional sampling, there is an ever growing body of evidence to show that the world's largest deep sea crustacean is far from rare. This discovery challenges old assumptions and expands our view of what we thought possible for an invertebrate. Those of you that don't know, an invertebrate is an animal without a backbone. An invertebrate is an animal with a backbone. In such an extreme environment, despite appearing in distant waters, Elacela gigantea shows very little genetic change. Some marine specialists propose that lower temperatures and stable conditions in the deep sea slow down evolutionary divergence, keeping populations similar across large areas. Others suggest that shifting ocean currents and tectonic changes over millions of years open pathways for these animals to spread. So, due to plate tectonics, or basically the movement of the continents, and which makes sense. You're going to have it where marine organisms of every kind are going to have to move, or they're going to quickly disappear from the earth if they're not spread out in other regions that aren't affected negatively by plate tectonics. In either scenario, the evidence supports one widely distributed type rather than many closely related variants. Oh, hold on a second. I think there's maybe a slight bit more on this specific species of amphipod. I think it's right here. Okay, so Spauhaus world projection showing the sample sites of all sequence Elicilia gigantea specimens used in this study. So they're definitely concentrated within the, it looks like, Indian Ocean, I think part of the Antarctic Ocean and Pacific, but nothing in the Atlantic. So that's interesting. Deep sea organisms often cope with near freezing temperatures, scarce food, and high hydrostatic pressure. Tidal zones can reach more than 29,300 feet. Alicella, well, Alicella gigantea inhabits a wide depth range, an indication of incredible resilience. Stomach content studies of many large amphipods reveal that they feed on carrion or sinking organic matter. This lifestyle may grant them the flexibility to survive in far flung regions where consistent meals aren't guaranteed. Um, might be it about this individual. Okay, so aggregations of giant crustaceans, Alicillae gigantea, to bait traps at roughly 22,000 feet or 6,700 meters deep from the Murray Fracture Zone, North Pacific. Okay, well, that was interesting to see. Let's head over to the next article. So, from livescience.com, never before seen footage captures moment scientists find new giant anaconda species in Amazon. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's take a look at this. Scientists recently discovered a new species of green anaconda in the Amazon rainforest. A new Nat Geo series shows the moment they encountered this snake in the wild. In 2024, scientists announced the discovery of a newfound anaconda species in the
Wait, was that a video of it?
I don't know. Um, the Ecuadorian Amazon. Oh, there's 2, if that's the one. Um, okay, so let's see. The footage transports viewers to the Bauhuarai territory in the Amazon rainforest, where researchers were sampling anacondas in 2022 for a snake genetic study. In the video, venom expert Brian Fry and actor Will Smith traveled by boat with indigenous Warani guides along the banks of Murky River.
So are they gonna slap the snake?
His name is Rock. In a small clearing, the group spots a gigantic anaconda, which the guides manage to immobilize so that Fry and Smith can take a piece of its scales. Um, the anaconda in the footage, which features in an episode of National Geographic's upcoming Pole to Pole with Will Smith, the Cuseries is a female measuring 16 to 17 feet, or 4.9 to 5.2 meters long. Fry estimates in the show. There is a danger she might bite, says one of the Warani guides who helps pin down the snake, even if green anacondas aren't venomous. Anacondas are constrictors, meaning they kill prey by wrapping their bodies tightly around it, suffocating the animal before swallowing it whole. So, is there anything? Oh, that's the species. Wow. It is quite green. You're used to seeing them quite black with a bit of yellowish color and sometimes what a bit of gray mixing in. The scale sample and others taken in 2022 revealed that green anacondas, which were previously thought to all belong to one species, actually form 2 separate species. Eunectes marinus, the already identified southern green anaconda, and Eunectes akiyama, the newfound northern green anaconda. Finding a new species is so often not a case of actively searching, but rather having rigorous scientific process in place so that serendipity can strike. The research into the genetics of the iconic green anaconda is textbook in this regard. Genetic analysis indicate that Eunectes marinus and Eunectes akiyama diverged 10 million years ago. So this is during the late Miocene epoch. Since then, northern and southern green anacondas have accumulated thousands of genetic differences, adding up to a whopping 5.5% of their total DNA. Hmm. By comparison, the level of mismatch between human and ape DNA is about 2%. So I'm guessing they're tagging it right here. Professor Brian Fry and Marcelo Tempene Bahua take a sample from a male green anaconda, later revealed to be a new species, Eunectes akiyama. Okay, so they're taking a DNA sample. As its name suggests, the northern green anaconda inhabits the Amazon's northern basin, which includes parts of Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela, Trinidad. And then you have, okay, so this is mostly the northern parts of the Amazon rainforest. It's not even mentioning Brazil here. The southern green anaconda, on the other hand, is found in the Amazon southern basin, which stretches across Brazil from Peru and Bolivia to French Guiana. Okay, so it seems like it has a slightly larger home range than the northern green anaconda, um, but the northern green anaconda still inhabits a large part of northern and South America. Both species live in wetlands and rivers, spending most of their time submerged in water. Their olive green coloring blends into their surroundings, which helps green anacondas ambush large prey such as capybaras, caimans, and deer. Yeah, they pretty much eat anything. So, green anacondas are the world's heaviest snakes, with some specimens weighing more than 550 pounds or 250 kilograms, and exceeding 12 inches or 30 centimeters in girth. Female northern green anacondas grew the largest and heaviest, while their male counterparts have more slender bodies. This means male northern green anacondas hunt different prey and occupy different positions in the food chain. Females and males live in the same environment, but they feed differently. So the northern green anaconda is the fifth described anaconda species in the world, and there may be more hiding out there. Despite anacondas having a state of fame exceeding that of any other reptile, they're really poorly known. I would put the saltwater crocodile or Komodo dragon probably on top. Can't think of a lizard unless his name's Geico. But yeah, those specific two I would think have much more just renowned, or the rattlesnake. No specific species, just the rattlesnake in general.
What is it, the rattlesnake just here?
Yeah, only concentrated in North America. So different parts of Eastern, Western North America, as well as Mexico. I don't believe it reaches further south. So let's head to the next article. Where.org. Ben Lomond mountain goat herd is living their best lives a year after transplant. Oh, what do we have here? He seems quite happy. I think. I don't know. Mountain goats are quite unpredictable, so he could be thinking of something sinister. Um, the mountain goat inside a cage before being released on Ben Lemon, November 19th, 2024. The goats. Okay, so this is by the courtesy of Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. So I'm guessing this is taking place in Utah. The goats in this cohort have yellow ear tags. New hoofed residents of Ben Lemon Peak have had a good first year. It's been 13 months since the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources brought in 10 mountain goats from the mountains east of Beaver to Ben Lomond, north of Ogden. Huh. So north of North Ogden. So what? This is around the Beaver. So it's south, I believe, of Logan, Utah. So Logan's the large town, I think, closest to like the Idaho, southern Idaho, and northern Utah state border. So this is quite interesting. I wasn't expecting them to release him over here. The goal was to help the Ben Lemon herd recover after transplants. Hunting in years of harsh weather dwindled its numbers. Oh, wait, wait, hold on a second. Hunting by the carnivores, or you had it where a handful of people could have purchased some tags and kill them? So far, all 10 transplants are alive and well, said Box Elder District wildlife biologist Daniel Sally. Oh, okay. So it was the former population, but still. The first winter in a new location can be tough. Animals have to find safe spaces to avoid predators and, oh, places. I think I said spaces. And find food and water. So Sally expected to see one or two deaths. It wouldn't have been concerning if we did, but it's really cool to see that they all have made it. Yeah, that's really good, the fact that this occurred. I mean, I that is completely unexpected. Like, we've seen it where they were relocating rhinos in Africa, I think specifically the black rhinos a couple of years ago, and apparently, like, I think they came in from some part of South Africa or Namibia, and then were relocated to a part of Chad, I believe, and a few did not make it. They ended up just being, massively dehydrated. I think it was just a very harsh, dry season in the area, but then I think they released another group, and they're doing much better. So let's see. Plus, when Sally went up the mountain in the fall, he saw one of the new
You
arrivals.
froze.
Oh, um, okay. I'm just gonna keep reading. He saw one of the new arrivals nursing a baby. The transplants aren't easy to spot with their yellow ear tags and GPS collars. Some of the existing goats are also have collars. The tracking helps biologists understand how the herds get along. Early on, the new goats kept to themselves. Also, when referring to mountain goats, they reach somewhere around 350 pounds or pushing over 170 kilograms. So they're the largest goats on Earth. I think there are even the larger ibex over in the Himalayas don't reach the exact same size. They're close though. I think they get somewhere between 250 to 300 pounds, or a little over 140 kilograms. So let's see. Right after we let them go, they kind of all shotgunned across the ridge and then met up on the north side of Ben Lomond Peak. Throughout the year, one goat wandered close to the Wyoming border. Hey, there he is. It's like, we okay. And another down near Interstate 15 before turning back home. He is just frolicking. It's like, yes, I'm so proud. Now where's some salt? Okay. Mountain goat bounces away from the release site on Ben Lemon, November 19th, 2024. You can see Ogden along the skyline in the background. Oh, shucks, you released it? Right. Okay. Never mind. I forgot Beaver was that close. So I guess that's Antelope Island State Park in the distance. There's like a herd of 5 to 600 bison on the island. Um, there's like an annual roundup. So, wow, that's quite shocking. Anyway, uh, come late summer, Sally said the two groups of goats began interacting. They continue to get along, which you see in the population numbers. The herd has grown from about 30 individuals before the transplant to roughly 50 or 60 now. Sally estimates based on the new arrivals, the existing herd's reproduction. Well, I'm guessing that there was more genetic variety than what you tend to see in much rarer animals because the mountain goat population, I haven't checked on it specifically throughout all of North America, but these aren't necessarily endangered animals, but it also does vary depending on the population. But I'm guessing there's going to be quite a bit of genetic variety. Still, the state will continue to issue very few hunting permits so the population can grow. Why would you? Well, there's only 50 or to 60 of them. And you're already letting them uh, be hunted. I just think that's nuts. Once they get up to about 100 individuals, we'll probably increase tags a little higher, just so they don't grow above that every year. What? What? Oh my gosh. Okay. Um, that's just nuts. The winter's unusual weather has allowed the mountain goats to remain at higher elevations than normal. Sally expects there to still be plenty of vegetation due to warm weather and rain. They're probably loving life up there right now at 9,000 feet. What is that? It's 2,600 meters. And above eating fresh grass. Mountain goat transplants are no easy feat. In 2024, the Division of Wildlife Resources contracted a helicopter crew to fly through the Tusher Mountains to look for goats. They shoot a net, then snares the animal. Then they drop down, and a guy who's called a mugger jumps out and untangles the goat from the net, then puts a blindfold and hobbles on them. Crikey!
A mugger?
Yeah, I just
So
imagine.
they're getting mugged.
Yeah, it's funny. Next, each goat was put in a transport bag on the end of a long line, and the animals were flown to the awaiting staff. The goats' weight and body fat were measured. Each one got a GPS collar and a dose of sedatives for the ride up. Huh? Sedatives for the ride up north. After a night in a holding facility to wait for blood test results, the goats were released on Ben Lomond. Looking very so cute. Let's see. Division of Wildlife Resources staff opened a metal cage to release a pair of mountain goats on Ben Lomond November 19th, 2024. Those, um, yeah, they seem pretty healthy. 16 goats captured from the same location were sent to Nevada to increase genetic diversity there. Don't know where specifically in Nevada. The effort is worth it to spread mountain goats out and keep populations healthy, Sally said. It's also fun for hikers and bikers to spot the fluffy horned animals. For his part, Sally loves watching baby mountain goats. I'm guessing in the region they have more access to salt compared to where they were introduced to over in Washington state. And they started attacking and sometimes killing tourists to just obtain salt from their sweat. So let's see. Um, okay. That's about it. So let's head over to the next article. Oh boy. Okay, from dialogue.earth. Black bears stray from Assam National Park in unprecedented numbers. 6 months ago, conflict between Asiatic black bears and people around Manas National Park were largely unheard of. But in October, the animals suddenly started to enter villages along the India Bhutan border. Well, this is interesting. Especially over in India, Asiatic black bears specifically are not very common. They tend to be, at least at the moment, more present in different parts of Southeast Asia. So Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. There's a very small population of them, probably somewhere between 10 to 12,000 animals. And here he is. So the Asiatic black bear is much smaller compared to certain American black bear populations. The Asiatic black bear doesn't usually exceed 440 pounds or a little over 220 kilograms. So, also, these individuals tend to be much more herbivorous, though it depends on the population. Certain black bear individuals, Asiatic black bears specifically, will feed on or they'll hunt different species of deer, but most of their protein tends to come from different species of insects. they will feed on different species of fruit as well as honey. Let's see. On the night of December 15th, 2021, Sukan Gayari got the shock of his life. The elderly resident of Durabari village in Assam, Northeast India, had just finished dinner and was about to retire for the night when he heard a loud thud in the kitchen. Gayari rushed towards the sound and found that the kitchen door had been broken. When he peeped inside, to his horror, he saw a large black bear relishing a pot of leftover rice and curry. The bear also ate 18 eggs and a few chicks that had hatched recently. Despite his shock, he did not make a sound.
I hope he brushes his teeth afterwards.
Yeah, that's I guess that's not really shocking. Even pandas will go after small bird hatchlings. The full-grown adult birds themselves. I quietly went back to my room. The bear eventually fell asleep and was in the kitchen the entire night. In the morning, I informed the forest officials who arrived at 6:30 a.m. They tranquilized the bear and later released it into the forest.
So the bear never left the house.
Nope. Yeah.
So this was like Goldilocks,
Um,
just the opposite way around.
yeah. Um, no porridge here. Those,
Because he ate it all.
yeah, those, yeah, this guy is definitely not, he's not very vegetarian. A veterinarian carried out a medical examination on the animal. It this identified it as an aging Asiatic black bear, suspected to be struggling to hunt for food in the wild. He just smelled it, went right in. The bear's visit to Gigari's home was one of many recent incidents around Manas National Park in the foothills of the Himalayas. Between October 2021 and February 2022, there were 18 occasions in which Asiatic black bears were seen outside the boundary of the national park and had to be relocated. According to Prabhat Basumatari of the Manas Tiger Reserve, the core of which is in Manas National Park, and Dao Baro of the Wildlife Trust of India. Yes, you can have it where certain protected areas have other smaller protected areas inside of them. At least this occurs.
How
Uh,
does that work?
I think it's in most continents, at least North
I just
America.
meant, how do you have a protected area inside of a protected area?
Yeah, it's like I bet there's different rules. I'm not exactly sure how that works or how that came to be. So it can be a bit confusing. Let's see. And Haru Baro of the Wildlife Trust of India, both are veterinary officers in charge of catching and caring for animals that stray out of the national park. On two of these occasions, people were attacked, although the bears were first provoked, their toll was told. In contrast, according to the officers' records, there were only 8 such events between 2009 and 2016. Between 2017 and 2020, let's see, an average about 1 bear per year was sighted outside the park, Basumatari says, with similar figures for the preceding years. November 2021 alone saw 5 incidents in which bears had to be moved back to the forest, with 10 the following month. Wow. So there's a lot going on here with this population of Asiatic black bears in Northeast India. As of March 2022, the sightings have stopped. A rise in bear attacks and sightings outside forest reserves was also reported just across the border in neighboring Bhutan.
So the
So,
bears left and went somewhere else.
yeah, they went to the next they immigrated to Bhutan and then came back. So, okay, I'm just kidding. They migrated to the area and then they came back. Oh, right. Okay. So this is quite a small area. Right, I forget. Northeast India, it's a long strip. So, if you're looking at the map, you might just confuse it with neighboring Bhutan or was it possibly Myanmar, Bangladesh? In reality, it's like this very thin strip of land that's still part of India. As part of the park is in it's over in Bhutan, and then the rest of it is over in India. So that makes sense. Oh, there you go. So okay, that makes sense. Hmm, interesting. It's like that, I think, with certain national parks in other countries, continents. It's kind of fun. Okay, let's see. So Daurabari, the village where Gayari lives, is one of around 50 settlements on the fringes of the park, which spans an area of 950 square kilometers. I'm guessing that's somewhere around 450 square miles. It is home to 21 animal species listed in Schedule 1. Those afforded the most stringent protection of India's Wildlife Protection Act 1972. The Asiatic black bear is one of three species of bear found in Northeast India, along with the sloth bear and the sun bear. That sun bear must be in the very extreme eastern parts of India because there's not a lot of preferable habitat in India for the sun bear in general. They tend to be mostly concentrated in Southeast Asia. Although it is common for bears to stray out of the park's boundaries once in a while, the increased number became a cause for concern among villagers and forest officials. Some of the bears strayed as far as 10 to 12 kilometers or 5 to 6 miles from the forest and into human habitation. Most of these were adult males weighing at least 80 kilograms or 190 pounds. I mean, 170 pounds. Wow. Well, those must be younger males. That's not a very large Asiatic black bear. Now, when you're referring to sloth bears are, for the most part, only concentrated in India. You can have a handful wander into, I think, neighboring Bangladesh or possibly Bhutan or Nepal, but the rest of the population, and even historically, was really only concentrated in India.
What's the size difference?
Sloth bears can reach somewhere around 300 to 350 pounds, and so pushing somewhere around 150 to 180 kilograms. Whereas the Asiatic black bears, so they're pushing 440 pounds, a little over 210 kilograms.
So they're both about black bear size here.
Black, depending on the black bear population, yes. If some population, especially in the eastern United States, can reach over 700 pounds or pushing over 350 kilograms. And also, these bears don't have the access to the food either. And you can have it. I'm not just referring to certain bear populations because some might assume that these American black bear populations have access to crop fields and that's how they can become so large and garbage, which is true in certain parts of the eastern United States. But as you head over to areas like Newfoundland, they can become huge and they're just mainly feeding on different species of berries and certain insects and mammals in the region. They just become extraordinarily fat. So, villagers have reported loss of livestock, including goats, pigs, and poultry. While human elephant conflicts are common in this part of the country, human bear conflicts were previously largely unheard of. It's funny. It's like, yeah, I mean, human elephant problems, that's normal. Okay. So, we're not going to deal with that. But this human bear thing, we should take a look into this. It's horrible with the elephants killing livestock, causing damage to crop fields. I'm like, has I would think like in Africa, they could just set up artificial beehives and unless it doesn't occur with Asian elephants, I'm saying this because bush elephants in Africa are afraid of the sounds that bees make, especially African killer bees. So the question is, if you were to just put that there, would the elephants stay away? Or would they develop a bit of, immunity to it and then realize, "Okay, this thing really isn't a threat?" Though I'm not so sure about the different species of bees within India. Um, that's just my, theory. Oh, well, let's see what's going on here. Oh, well, yeah, this seems to be a younger Asiatic black bear. He's pushing like 200 pounds. I think they were saying that around the
Did
100.
everyone just come over to film him?
Yep.
It looks like they
Oh,
all have
oh!
phones out. Oh, elephant.
Interesting. Yeah, this is one of those areas where
More
bears and
elephants.
elephants do coexist. It's almost like the Pleistocene or the Ice Age. It is quite
There's people
interesting.
riding the elephants.
Oh, it's the mahouts. Oh, sheesh. Well, I mean, technically, you still have where elephants are native to the area. So, yeah, it is a bit of like a Pleistocene landscape. Except, I mean, it's possible you could have an Asiatic black bear go after an abandoned newborn elephant calf. but nothing, any larger. So, maybe push it, yeah, well, yeah, but it might, just there you go. Okay, so an Asian black bear being chased by an elephant in Rahibul village on December 6th, 2021. Forest in the video is adjacent to Ropno Karkatari's house. When the bear's presence was detected, forest department brought in elephants to help drive the bear out of the undergrowth. Okay, so how many more of this is? I mean, it's interesting. Oh, okay. Still, I wouldn't mind to finish, but we're gonna head over to. Oh, just keep going. I mean, okay. So, Prabhat Basumatari, forest veterinary officer of Manas Tiger Reserve, has been involved in 13 out of the 18 rescue cases. Since I joined Manas in 2006, I've come across a few cases of bears wandering into human habitat. These were few and far between, but it happened on an unprecedentedly large scale last year and continued until February. After the bears are tranquilized, the veterinarian carries out a medical examination. They are weighed and their teeth are checked to determine their age. Those that need treatment are sent to a nearby rescue center and released in the forest when they have recovered. So far, all the rescued bears have been released. Okay, so I think this is one of the rescued bears. I was concerned this is one of those bear bile farms over in like Vietnam and Cambodia. This is interesting. They always have it on one of those cages where it's like wire that they're spinning. Why don't they just put a flat surface?
So are they just relocating him?
I think so. Or they're about to give him a health checkup and then they're sending him there. He's got to be somewhat dated.
He he just looks laid back.
Yeah. So, it was a bear caught outside the national park between November and December 2021. Some are saying that it is a sign of an impending earthquake. Forest officials are saying that the number of bears must have increased or that the bears must have come down from Bhutan to hibernate. Let's see. The north of Manas National Park is connected to Royal Manas National Park in Bhutan. Bears are known to climb down from the mountains of Bhutan and cross over to the Indian side. Elsewhere in India and other parts of Asia, it is common for Asiatic black bears to enter human settlements and kill livestock. According to um, Nishtahare, sloth bear experts. But did the behavior suddenly rise in frequency for those 5 months? Let's see. Daharie gives three possible reasons for bears straying into human habitat: lack of food in the forest, degradation of their habitat, and an increase in the bear population. Arendra Singh Bargali. Let's see. So Arang Singh, the chief conservator of forests with the Bodoland Territorial Council, the most senior Forest Service officer in the area, said the bears generally live in the upper regions of Bhutan. During the lean season, at the beginning of winters, sometimes availability of food and water may become an issue. That's when the bears come down in search of food. These could be some of the reasons behind the unusual number of bears straying out. But we can't confirm unless we conduct a proper study. This doesn't happen every year. He added that the Bodoland Forest Department is in touch with the Bhutanese government. We are communicating with the Forest Department there and are trying to understand the issue. A core group has been formed in Manas to study the situation and report to the government. But Bhutan is now closed to the what? But Bhutan is now closed due to the pandemic, and we can't really come to a conclusion unless we study their habitat. Additionally, we also need to take permissions and have official procedures to fulfill to be able to conduct a joint study. Okay, I know this took place back in 2020 or 2021, but what the I what does that have to do with that's pathetic. Keep rescuing them. A matter of concern is that in India, there is limited data on bear populations or the status of their habitats. Really? Why am I guess that's actually a bit surprising. I thought, um, per se, sloth bear habitats were continuously being monitored. This is quite shocking. I mean, usually, You tend to see sloth bears in the dry season and like different tiger reserves, and they're just looking for an abundant amount of jackfruit. This means there's no way of knowing whether the bear population has suddenly expanded. I think it's also interesting. It's not necessarily even the bears or the sloth bears, but tigers, or India, very well known for tigers, and their update or what seems to be consistently updated status on the tigers within the country. Yet it seems to be, and sometimes even certain elephant populations, but maybe I'm wrong. And that's only a handful of areas. No animal wants to get into conflict with human beings. Yeah, tell that to a polar bear. Okay. Um, let's see. Bears are neglected in India because other animals like tigers, rhinos, lions, and elephants get priority. Most funds go toward research on those animals. Okay, that's funny, but the lions are like are they're inbred. So they're the ones that are extremely neglected. But anyway, that's funny. And then all those chained elephants. Let's keep going. Without proper research, says Bibuta Lakar, the division head of the Guwahati-based NGO Aranyak. It is impossible to suggest what to do. We need to conduct studies to understand this behavior and prevent human-bear conflicts and any untoward incidents in the future. Um, okay, let's see. Without policies guided by proper research, fear can spread fast with adverse consequences for people and wildlife. In January, the villagers in Komari killed a bear cub and buried it by the river. Why? What on earth? What? When word of the cub's death spread, the forest department was informed and a case was lodged against those responsible. To prevent such incidents, Dariari says researchers will have to observe how local people
That's why
perceive.
they buried it. They were trying to hide it.
Yeah. Perceive bear visits. Which also studying the movement of the animal and the availability of food during different seasons. Depending on the findings, a food calendar for different seasons could be prepared so that certain trees or bushes can be grown in the forest. This might prevent the bears from straying in search of food. Okay, let's see. So, um, we're going to um, take a minute. I'll be right back. Well, that was a sad ending. Jeesh. Killed the cub. Earth.com. So let's now travel back in time. This seems to be some species of anapsid or a group of reptiles in which the turtles belong to. That there were a major group of terrestrial anapsids during the Permian period. So this would be somewhere between 252 to 305 million years ago. We have here, this looks like a relative of the Scutosaurus. Scientists discover a prehistoric animal that lived on Earth 259 million years ago. So this is during the last 8 to 10 million years of the Permian. A new fossil skull dug out of purple siltstone in northern China belongs to a creature that walked the planet about 259 million years ago. The animal was named Yinshanosaurus angustus, and the find helps fill a gap in the family tree of large plant eating reptiles that roamed just before the greatest die off in Earth's history. So, Dr. Hyun Yi and Dr. Hoon Lu of the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology at the Chinese Academy of Sciences compared two well preserved specimens from Shanxi and Inner Mongolia.
Who knew?
Somebody's name is that. Both fossils include almost complete skulls, giving researchers a rare full view of the head and much of the spine.
Well, you too.
This is just sad now. how how is there any like honor in having that? Parasauridae are a bizarre herbivorous clade of tetrapods that existed in the Guadalupian and Lupangian and were victims. Guessing this is referring to part of the Permian period epochs. Were victims of both the late Capetanian and the end Permian mass extinction events. The more complete of the two skulls measure 10 inches long, yet barely 4 inches wide across the cheeks, the narrowest head known for any periosaur. Oh, right. Okay. So the periosaurs, they're a group of bellies of the anapsids are closely related to the anapsids. So these are members of the diapsid lineage of reptiles, and these are very distinct from the synapsids or the proto-mammals that existed at the time, some of which hunted these periosaurs. That unusual shape is not the only odd trait. The snout is as wide as it is high. The frontal bone is slender and twice as long as it is wide. The upper jaw teeth stand almost vertical instead of tilting backward as in relatives. That is interesting because in many species of, even herbivorous mammals not mammals, animals, as well as carnivorous animals, the teeth do tend to, um, protrude backwards or point backwards, and this helps with tearing off a plant or flesh. In this instance, it's quite vertical, which you do see in different herbivores. I mean, even certain omnivores as well. So it's interesting. Ariosaur is a stocky, barrel-bodied tetrapod that carried a tiny tail and a head often ringed with bony knobs. Most species topped out at about 8 feet long and weighed as much as today's American bison. Yeah, so there were some species that could weigh up to 2,200 pounds or a little over 1,000 kilograms. They thrived across the late Permian period, serving as key plant chompers in ecosystems from South Africa to Russia. Their success ended abruptly when roughly 90% of marine species and 70% of land vertebrates vanished at the close of the era. I think it might be the opposite here. 90% marine species just seems like a very tough estimate, but we don't know. The Inshanosaurus angustus forged on the northern shoulder of Pangea. So this was okay. The single landmass that stitched together today's continents, especially at the middle to late Permian, was at the height of Pangea. So at the time, the interior of the supercontinent swung between searing summers and bitter winters, pressuring animals to adapt or disappear. China's Naobagu and Sunghaogu formations capture that turbulent landscape in stacked mudstones and siltstones. Periodic floods buried carcasses quickly enough to preserve delicate skeletal links, a stroke of luck for modern paleontologists. Yi and Lu spotted a forked rear projection on the nasal bone, this towards the snout or the nose, and a notch in the tabular bone at the back of the skull. features never seen together before. They also noticed a U-shaped um, parietal process that differs from the V-shaped version in close cousins. The skeleton of Yinshanosaurus angustus provides the complete cranial and articulated postcranial details of Chinese parasaurs for the first time. Also, for those of you that don't know, the dinosaurs have not yet evolved. They wouldn't appear until the late mid Triassic, somewhere around 235 million years ago. So this is taking place somewhere around 25 to 30 million years before the first dinosaurs would appear. Using 183 anatomical characters, the team ran computer analyses that split Chinese parasaurs into three distinct branches, placing the new taxon beside Trityphania completus within a fresh subgroup. The Permian ended with volcanic eruptions in what is now Siberia, pumping out enough carbon dioxide to warm oceans by at least 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Hmm. That spike drove ocean anoxia, acid rain, and habitat collapse, setting the stage for for the dinosaurs that would follow in the Triassic. Well, that would still be quite a ways. You already had immediately, first of all, different types of organisms that survived the mass extinction, and quite a bit of variety of plant life. This also taking into account the different amphibians, proto mammals, as well as reptiles in the region, and even in the ocean. So it wasn't exactly everything died, and all of a sudden you had this explosion of life. You already had it where different animals just kept evolving; they survived. Quite adaptive. Each newly described pre extinction species sharpens models of how ecosystems responded to rising heat and disrupted carbon cycles. Because parasaurs sat low on the land food chain, they reflect the health of primary plant production more directly than predators do. CT scans of the shank sized skull reveal replacement tooth buds waiting beneath worn crowns, confirming lifelong dental turnover like that in modern lizards. The scans also expose internal canals that once carried blood vessels to horn like bosses, suggesting seasonal growth tied to mating display or species recognition. Digital models Digital models of those structures feed into the expanding open database hosted by the Chinese Academy of Sciences. By pulling 3D files from separate labs, researchers can test competing family trees without moving fragile fossils across borders. Work now shifts to beds just above the current fossil horizon, layers that many hold early Triassic survivors or fresh victims of the end Permian crisis. Lou's group plans a targeted survey during the next field season, armed with drone based um, photogrammetry to map promising outcrops. The team also hopes to sample bone collagen if any remains for stable isotope studies that could reveal diet and seasonal water stress. Combined with climate models, those data might show whether narrow snouted herbivores had a feeding edge in arid late Permian landscapes. Understanding how a mid sized, flat snouted browser fit into the pre extinction puzzle helps scientists refine the timeline of faunal turnover. Each added piece, however small, tests broader ideas about resilience and collapse as Earth's systems tip past critical thresholds. Whew, okay, so um, yeah, I'm going to have to check up on other as well as this specific Periosaur, but, other Periosaurs later. So, let's head to the next article. Okay, so from the Smithsonianmagazine.com. Rare red-necked ostriches introduced in Saudi Arabia to replace birds that went extinct more than 80 years ago.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. So they were brought out of the South and US?
Um, oh, I get it. Rare red-necked ostriches. Seems that way. Let's see. The released birds are the closest living relatives of the extinct Arabian ostrich. The flightless animal's return is part of a broader rewilding effort at a huge nature reserve. I bet Jeff Foxworthy is proud. Let's see. Oh, I don't understand his red neck. Slight color change, maybe instead of like the full white or sort of beige you tend to see. The introduced population of ostriches consists of 5 individuals, which conservationists hope will reproduce and flourish at the reserve. Yeah, yeah, sure. 5 ostriches. That's a lot of genetic variety. That is not good. 5 red-necked ostriches have been released in a nature reserve in Saudi Arabia as part of an ambitious plan to rewild the region. Wait a second. Where are you releasing them in Saudi Arabia where they have access to, like, plentiful food? I understand these guys can do pretty well in certain parts of the, Namib Desert in Namibia, but this is worse. This is over in the Arabian Peninsula. So, I believe part of the
Maybe they're
Saharan.
just taking care of them.
It's possible. Let's see. In December, conservationists announced the release of the tall, leggy birds into Prince Muhammad bin Salman Royal Reserve, a 9,460 square mile or 18,000 700 square mile protected area in the northwest part of the country. Red-necked ostriches also,
You meant square kilometer?
I mean, yeah, square kilometers. So 19,000, what, 480 square kilometers. But no, 8,000, 18,000 square kilometers at least. Red-necked ostriches, also known as North African or Barbary ostriches, are meant to serve as a biological replacement for Arabian ostriches, which used to inhabit the region but went extinct in 1941 because of overhunting and habitat loss. Hmm. Maybe there's a bit of habitat within Saudi Arabia that just I haven't taken a look at yet, but most of the country is pretty barren. The wiped out subspecies closest living relative is the red-necked ostrich, which has biological features that aid its survival in a harsh desert environment. But
So, where exactly in Alabama did they live?
yeah, I don't think Huntsville. Probably much further south. What was that thing that came out of Alabama recently? I think it was some species of possibly marine reptile or something else. I have no idea. So let's see. Maybe they came from the southern parts, so they're used to sand. But red-necked ostriches are also on the brink of extinction, with fewer than 1,000 birds remaining in scattered parts of Africa's semi-arid region in the central north, per the announcement. Um, Maybe this is also to help with the poaching problem over in Africa. So that's my guess. So I don't exactly understand what it means by the central north. So I'll have to take a look at that later. Some experts consider the subspecies to be critically endangered. Yeah, fewer than 1,000 is critically endangered. Biologists hope members of the recently introduced population will reproduce and help bolster the bird's numbers. Yeah, but you're only sending 5. The ostriches mark the 12th species to be reintroduced to the nature reserve, along with Arabian oryx, Persian onager. So we have a species of antelope, a species of horse, more closely linked to a donkey, sand gazelle, and mountain gazelle. So, 2 other antelope species. So it sounds like this is almost like one of their rewilding nature reserves in the Arabian Peninsula. So it's interesting to see. I was also hearing about something occurring over in North Africa, possibly part of Morocco or Algeria. Conservationists hope to eventually bring back a total of 23 historically occurring native species as part of a broader long-term ecosystem restoration plan. Well, it's good to hear, but I was hoping there was going to be an increase on the amount of ostriches. Still 23 wouldn't be, it's still not great. Need many more. Send the whole population. The reserve is partnering on the initiative with the National Center for Wildlife as well as Imam Turki bin Abdullah Royal Nature Reserve, Imam Saad bin Abdulaziz Royal Reserve, Aramco, Neom, and Ayullah.
That's exhausting just to listen to.
Yeah. Wow. The return of camel birds. I was always wondering if somebody was going to nickname them that. A nickname for all ostriches, to their historic rangeland supports the restoration of desert ecosystems shaped historically by large grazing and browsing species. Ecosystems can only be considered fully restored when lost species or their ecological equivalents are returned. He's like, oh, look, I see grasshoppers. The massive reserve includes 15 distinct ecosystems, though it encompasses just 1% of Saudi Arabia's landmass and 1.8% of its marine area. Wow. Is it really that big? The region is home to more than 50% of the nation's species. It's one of the most biodiverse protected areas in the Middle East. Yeah, wow. Ostriches have been part of the Middle East deserts ecosystems for centuries. How about thousands of years? In the first century CE, Roman author and statesman Pliny the Elder mentioned them in natural history. His 37-volume treatise on the natural world, as he understood it at the time, Pliny called them camel birds, a nod to their resemblance to the humped mammals from a distance. Oh, I thought it was because people rode them. How did wait, Pliny really said that? He found a lot of stuff. They also earned frequent mentions in Arabic poetry, classical literature, oral histories, and traditional storytelling. Wait, why am I reading about this?
Thought you were gonna say also earn frequent flyer miles.
Um,
I was like, "Wait, what?"
yeah, not even their chicks can do that. Well, unless they're taking a plane. So it seems to be some cave painting. Guessing a few thousand years old. I think this is taking place back when the Sahara Desert, the Arabian Peninsula, a few thousand years ago was quite lush. So it was literally the African savanna at the time.
That top camel has a large hump.
And it does.
I think it's a person.
Oh, maybe. Who knows? Ostriches, who are ancient birds whose ancestry has been traced back to at least the Eocene epoch, roughly 56 million to 34 million years ago. The iconic flightless creatures have large bodies, long, slender legs and necks. 9 feet? I think that's a bit of an overestimation. Yeah, they can get to about 340, 350 pounds. It's a big ostrich, so that's pushing over 160 kilograms or 70 kilograms. Oh, here's a couple of them. What do we got? At least a female over here. Guessing that's a male. Seems to have darker plumage. Quite barren. There's little tufts of grass. Okay, anything else? Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Let's head to the next article. So, from Euronews, when hippos fly, scientists discovered that the giant creatures can become airborne. What is going on here? Very concerned. Um, this is, by the way, this is another animal that likes getting into conflict with humans. Despite their significant weight and size, scientists have found that hippos can actually leave the ground for a limited time, at least. Is there anything more terrifying than a creature weighing 3,600 kilograms or let's see, 2 well, I think it's pushing like 3 tons, flying towards you through the air.
Wait, hippos can weigh that much?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're, especially the males, they're quite large. That's why you can see them confronting, like, white rhinos, and they look close to the same size, even though white rhinos can get bigger, and, topple them over is because of that. So, perhaps not, and it is a reality? Well, sort of. I think it's that hippos are incredibly dangerous. So, let's take a look. Scientists have discovered that hippopotamuses can become airborne for substantial periods of time for far longer than others of similar sizes. The new research by the Royal Veterinary College has found that the mammals can stay in the air for up to zero point 0.3 seconds at a time when moving at speed. Wait. Oh, no. Oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. Um, they're the second heaviest animal on Earth after elephants, but unlike those beasts, I'm pretty sure the maybe I'm off? Thought the white rhino was next. Hippos exclusively trot when moving, meaning they're more able to get momentum going. Oh no. You're not being lifted by a helicopter. In this still from a video taken by RVC researchers, a heavy hippo briefly flies. No, this is like the cheetah thing. But why did the scientists conduct this study? The researchers' aim was to improve scientific understanding of how the size of large animals influences their movement on land. There was also a wider focus on the importance of supporting the reconstruction of the evolutionary biomechanics of hippo lineages and helping veterinarians diagnose from moderate hippos who may have problems moving or be experiencing lameness. The research comes at a crucial time for hippos across the globe. Currently, one of the two remaining species, The pygmy hippo, who inhabits the forests and wetlands of West Africa, is endangered, while the common hippopotamus, found mainly in sub-Saharan grasslands, is listed as vulnerable. The pygmy hippo is a very low population. Zimbabwe has been having a bit of an issue with their hippo population. There are no pygmy hippos in Zimbabwe, just the hippopotamus. And there's like somewhere between 20 to 35,000 hippos in the country. So uh, there's too many for the region. So, as part of RVC's research, experts monitored video footage taken of two hippos moving around their paddock at the Flamingo Land Resort in Yorkshire, Northern England. We're thrilled to provide the first study purely focused on revealing how hippos walk and run. We were pleasantly surprised to see how hippos get airborne when they move quickly. It's really impressive. Interestingly, very little has previously been known about how hippos move, in part due to the fact that they tend to stick to water and because of the significant danger they pose to humans. Um, hmm, I think it's just going to be running, but okay. Okay. Look at him go. Of course, he's going to be, tracking another male. Yeah, they can run up to, like, 25 miles per hour. I'm not sure that is
So, basically, if you're being charged by a hippo, you're just dead.
um, yeah, that's a problem. Can't climb trees. The new research is open, but then, especially in Africa, you gotta be careful because different species of snakes. Is there a leopard or a lion in the tree? Many things. The new is it one of those thorny acacia trees? So the new research has opened a window to parts of the lives of hippos, and experts are hopeful it's a step in the right direction. I am delighted that we could help facilitate and aid in the collection of this valuable data, this exceptional publication. The fact that this paper has uncovered possible new discoveries into hippo location could have positive impacts to the wider zoo community in regards to husbandry and enclosure design. Yeah, well, if you're going to have the hippo in captivity, it should be in my opinion, like a 40 to 80 acre area and not a little box. What I mean by that is 2 to 3 acres. So, um, claims here somewhere between 115,000 300,000 hippos worldwide. Well, Africa specifically. Um, yeah, but the question is which countries have those numbers? Kind of like the elephants, but the elephant population is slightly higher. Um, okay, are we doing? Okay, so a few seconds. We're gonna be doing some more. It was interesting though. I mean, those amphipod shrimp-like creatures. I don't know how large they were though. They seemed quite enormous. Then, what was the other thing besides like the Asiatic black bears? And was there like a small, not a rodent or a lemur, something else? It's not hitting me. Okay, well, let's continue. From the conservation.com, Africa's rarest carnivore. The story, one of the first Ethiopian wolf ever captured, nursed, and returned to the wild. Now let's take a look. Ethiopian wolves are quite rare within the country of Ethiopia in East Africa. So this is northeast of this country of Kenya. So they inhabit I think there's like 2 or 3 populations, but it's a small population. There's only around 5 to 600 of them. Ethiopian wolves are taller than coyotes, and they have much longer legs compared to their body size. Um, Not to the extent of the Maine wolf, but compared to every other species of wolf, but they only get to somewhere around 30 to 40 pounds or a little over 15 kilograms. Mostly hunting different species of rodents along the scrub landscape and occasionally going after smaller antelope individuals. And not just even referring to smaller species of gazelle. The younger, oh gosh, who is that specific individual? It's a relative of the bongo and the kudu. It's not hitting me. What's the value of one animal? When a wild animal is found badly injured, the most humane option is often euthanasia or euthanasia to prevent further suffering. That's what usually happens, and sometimes for good reason. Even when the resources to rescue one animal are available, a rehabilitated animal brought back into the wild might be rejected by its group or struggle to find food or escape predators. If it does survive, it may fail to reproduce and leave no lasting mark on the population. But every so often, a single case comes along where one animal becomes evidence that intervention can do more than save a life on the spot. It can also change what we think is possible. This is a story of a second chance that played out in the Simeon Mountains, Ethiopia. So it's one of the regions that the Ethiopian wolf exists. Few packs in the region. The air there is thin at 3,000 meters or 9,000 feet above sea level. The nights are cold and life offers very little mercy. This is also the home of the Ethiopian wolf, Canis immensis, the top predator in this habitat, the most endangered carnivore in Africa. Fewer than 500 adult wolves are left in the Ethiopian highlands, with about 60 to 70 in the Simeon Mountains. Ish, that is not a good population number. In early May 2020, a male Ethiopian wolf sustained a severe injury, a fractured femur from a gunshot. He was able to keep up with his pack in the unforgiving highlands. That would usually be the end of the story, but this time it wasn't. I'm a postdoctoral researcher in the Ethiopian Wolf Conservation Program, a 30-year-old program committed to safeguarding the Ethiopian wolf in its mountain home. I was honored to be part of a team who documented the first ever case of an Ethiopian wolf being rescued, clinically treated in captivity, and successfully released back into the wild following rehabilitation. Terrific. The lucky survivor. So, park scouts discovering the wolf lying under a bridge. Oh, park scouts discovered the wolf lying under a bridge and alerted Getachew Asifa, the wolf monitor team leader of the Ethiopian Wolf Conservation Program in the Simeon Mountains National Park. So, Simeon's Mountain Wolf Monitor Team, Adualim, Getachew, and Jija. It's unusual for an Ethiopian wolf to be shot in the park, so Ethiopian wildlife authorities and the Ethiopian Wolf Conservation Program decided to capture and save the frying animal.
Okay, that's saying Ethiopian a lot.
Yeah, well, we know where it's taking place. This was an unprecedented step. There was no previous record of an Ethiopian wolf ever being held in captivity before. The decision to save him was driven both by the fact that his injury was human made and by the small number of Simeon wolves left. Small mountain shelter was quickly converted into a makeshift enclosure for the wolf. There, over the next 51 days, his rehabilitation began. Wow. So they really did put in, some work into getting him back to recovery and not just a quick, checkup and then back to the highlands you go. In the following weeks, the wolf received intensive veterinary treatment guided by Ethiopian wolf experts. He was cared for by local community guard Chilet Wagai. At first, progress was uncertain. Then the broken bones began to heal, and after a month, the wolf could stand on its own. Oh, that's really good to hear. He was named Tarefi, meaning lucky survivor in Harik, the local language. After his leg recovered, Tarefi's eagerness to leave the shelter started to show. He was howling at night, perhaps as an attempt to call his pack members. In late June 2020, he was released back near his pack, fitted with a lightweight GPS collar, the first ever deployed on Ethiopian wolf. This allowed researchers to follow his movements and explore a critical question: could a rehabilitated wolf reintegrate into the wild? Yeah, that's what I was wondering, especially at his age, too. So, looks like there's a thing following his movements in the area. So soon after his release, sightings showed that Tarif had been welcomed back into his pack. He stayed within his original territory for several weeks, but soon he began to travel more widely in the mountains, sometimes visiting neighboring packs and eventually settling near Shahano village. At first, villagers were surprised to see a wolf near their homes and tried to chase him away. But wolf monitors led by Getachew and Chillet, they sound like Pokemon characters, explained Tarif's story of survival. Learning more about this wolf prompted a change of attitude and increased the villagers' willingness to protect Tarif and his new pack members. Indeed, Tarif had found a mate and they had a litter of pups. Oh, wow, that's that's really good. Hmm. Let's see. Today that Tarif pack still exists. Tarif not only survived but created a new legacy. He also changed something that's really important but difficult to measure: local perceptions. Wolves are sometimes seen as a threat, but because of Tarif, they became a symbol of resilience and a source of pride. It's interesting. I thought they were already seen as a source of pride. Apparently not. Let's see. So Tarif's story does not mean that every injured wild animal could or should be saved. Jeez. But when intervention is carefully executed, wow. I don't even want to finish that. Jeez. Okay. So are we just is there another one or oh okay. Whoops. First maybe we should go backwards. Let's do that. That'll be there we go. So from sciencealert.com, ancient Caribbean cave reveals bees that lived inside of bones. Well, this is quite interesting. I think I might have heard of this, but hmm. So, a CT scan of Plagiodontia aureum skull and the ichnofossil Osnidum almonti. I wonder who this is. Generations of ancient solitary bees made a home within the tooth holes of a fossilized jawbone, which was recently uncovered in a cave on the Caribbean island of Hispaniola. It's the first time we've ever seen ancient bees taking up residence in the pre-existing cavities of a fossil, and it shows home really is what you make it. Okay.
I don't even know how to comment on that.
Um, Paleontologists believe the jawbone once belonged to a capybara-like rodent, Plagiodontia arium, most likely transported to the cave in the grasp of an owl, which made a meal of the now extinct mammal and discarded its jawbone. Whoa, jeez, this thing is
I guess like a
gruesome.
tapeworm makes home in your, large intestine.
Yeah, that's freaky. Over the years, the jawbone's teeth loosened and scattered as it was slowly buried beneath a fine clay silt. There, in the holes left behind, called dental alveoli, um, still had ravioli. A newly described species of burrowing bee, Osnidum almonti, set up a multi generational home. This is just freaky and like I think it's just having the bones one thing, but just making a home inside it. It's like deranged. But to be We only know this because the unusually smooth surface inside one of these alveoli stood out to paleontologist Lazaro Vignola Lopez, who was digging up bones as part of his work at the Florida Museum of Natural History. Microcomputed tomography scans of the host bones show multi generational use of the same cavity, suggesting repeated use and some degree of nest fidelity. Fidelity in the nesting behavior of bees is linked to the consistency or specificity with which a bee species or individual selects and uses particular nesting sites, or materials. Once the researchers knew what to look for, they found many such examples of the bees nesting cells within bones throughout the sediment, even one within the jawbone of a sloth. I guess this is. Hold on a second. Do we know how old this is? Oh, I thought this was like back in before like the Holocene epoch or earlier in the Holocene epochs. Yeah, I was thinking maybe um at least 11,000 years ago. So at the end of the Ice Age, the Pleistocene.
I thought you were asking about the article. I'm like, I don't think articles were written back then.
Um, yeah, interesting. So we don't really know when this occurred. Um, okay. These may be only trace fossils, ichnofossils of O. almonti. They tell a fascinating story of the bee's behavior. The cells of Osnidum on almonti appear highly opportunistic, filling all bony chambers available in the sediment deposit. Similarly, the high abundance of nests throughout the deposit indicated that this cave was used for a long period as a nesting aggregation area by this solitary bee. That's it. Okay. I mean, that's just the bee's behavior, but it's just odd. What was this be too? Okay, well, let's head on to the next article. From polarjournal.net, DNA analyses. Mammoth remains turn out to be whales. Oh, that is, I mean, if you love whales, I guess that's fun, but that hurts, at least in my opinion. We're hoping to find mammoths, um, eh, any species. It could have been a pygmy mammoth. Oh, it turns out to be a whale. Oh, anyway, let's see. What for decades was considered a sensational Ice Age discovery has now turned out to be a mistake. Bone remains that researchers had previously attributed to young woolly mammoths. Oh, so it was a woolly mammoth. I was thinking maybe it's another species. They just had the woolly mammoth picture up here. Geez, that's really sad. Actually came from whales. Only through the use of modern DNA sequencing was a definitive identification possible. As a result, the supposed mammoth finds have now been assigned a completely different origin. Yeah, it sort of looks like a tusk. Einer Kubnai on Wrangel Island. So this is an island off of Russia, very well known for mammoth fossils. With a weathered mammoth tusk, or is it actually just a whalebone? Oh, that's not funny. The remains were discovered in Arctic regions, areas where numerous mammoth finds have already been made. Due to their size and shape, the bones fit well with the assumption that they belong to juvenile specimens of the extinct proboscideans, this referring to the elephants. However, a clear identification was not possible for a long time because the bones were heavily fragmented and weathered. Only modern genetic analyses brought clarity. Extracted DNA showed unmistakably that the bones belonged to marine mammals, more specifically to whales. Researchers explain how these remains could have ended up in areas that are now, in some cases, far from the sea by pointing to the dramatic environmental changes of past millennia. Ocean currents, glacial movements, and tectonic processes may have transported the bones to their present locations. Seems to be a more recent whalebone incident. Maybe not. Eastern Russia, bones repeatedly found. You also have polar bears occasionally pop up on Wrangel Island too. But yeah, it's definitely notorious for different woolly mammoth specimens. I'm not sure about other prehistoric mammals on the island aside from whales. Experts emphasize DNA analyses will play an even greater role in archaeology and paleontology in the future. They enable more precise identifications and help to reconstruct the living environments of past eras more accurately. Yeah, it's been occurring a lot more recently. The case of the supposed mammoth remains vividly demonstrates how modern science can reassess old mysteries. Let's see. Anything else? That's it. Okay. Well, we have no idea as to what specific species of whale this could be. Was that the only whalebone that they discovered? Though it sounds like there were a variety. So there are still some questions on that. Let's head to the next article from SciTechDaily.com. Poison frog puzzles solved after decades of confusion. Hmm. So when it comes to the different species of poisonous frogs around the world, there's somewhere around 300 different species of poisonous frogs. I think around 175 to 200 of them are poison dart frogs, and a majority are also concentrated within South America.
Are there also venomous frogs?
I don't know of any venomous frogs, just poisonous ones. Let's see. They do have a toxic. They do have a toxin on their skin, like different species of newts, but in some cases worse. A decades old mix up in a museum collection led scientists to mistakenly identify Peruvian poison frog as a new species. So, this is relating to a species of South American frog. Researchers at the University of Kansas Biodiversity Institute and Natural History Museum have recently discovered an old error involving a poison frog specimen from Peru. Specimen had been incorrectly identified decades ago, even though it was used as a holotype. A holotype is a single preserved specimen collected in the field and designated as the official reference for a species. Today, scientists sometimes also rely on associated information such as photos or genetic data as part of the holotype. Findings were published in the journal Zootaxa. When you describe a species, you assign one specimen that bears the name of that species. If I find something else later that looks like that species, I need to go to the holotype and compare things to know if that new population belongs to that species or is something else. The holotype is a specimen that represents the species. In 1999, a researcher came across a published photograph of a brightly colored frog from the Peruvian rainforest near the Ecuador border. He could not determine what species it was, so he formally described the frog using only that one image. The photo showed a specimen that had already been deposited in KU's herpetology collection. It was cataloged as KU 221832, and he gave it the scientific name Dendrobates duomani. Each specimen gets a catalog number. It's like a barcode. All photos, genetic data, calls, whatever we have associated with that specimen are linked to that catalog number. When the researchers saw the photo, excuse me, instead of asking for the specimen, they asked for just the catalog number, and they were given the wrong catalog number that belonged to another specimen. Yeah, I bet that happens continuously, not just with different modern animal specimens, but even different fossils. So they associated the wrong specimen with the new species description. True specimen was real, it just had another catalog number. An herpetologist recently performing research at the Biodiversity Institute requested to examine the holotype. The error was discovered. We had visitors, experts in this frog group, studying many species. Because the holotype presented the species, they wanted to look at the holotype to understand other populations. When they got the specimen with the described number, they realized this is not it. The frog is very colorful, and the numbered one was brown. Oh, okay. So this is Dendrobates duomani. That specific frog is just the his back region and the underbelly. Interesting. Spotted on the bottom. Somewhat on the top of the back legs. Soon, Mota and her colleagues were engaged in a hunt for clues about how the error occurred in the first place. When we went through field notes and photo records, we started matching all kinds of data. What photo belonged to what specimen? We found the correct specimen that was pictured in this photo and made the correction based on that. In the end, the frog in question has since been reclassified and it's no longer deemed to be an independent species. Whoa. Today, Dendrobates womani rather is classified as an example of the Amazon poison frog Renitomia ventrimaculata. So, is it just another genus and species of that specific one? Hmm. No, that occurs. With more data, we are describing more species. So, okay, so is that it with the frog? Seems to be that way, right? Um, yeah. Okay. Well, it's almost like that was unfortunate. But it occurs even with different fossils of different species of dinosaurs, prehistoric mammals, marine reptiles. Let's head over to the next article from the scientificamerican.com. Scientists record first known shark sounds. Well, uh, I wouldn't call this the first because or this probably isn't. There have been not exactly vocal,
Didn't
but
Jaws roar?
well, yeah, okay, that's there hasn't been any recording of that. But, what was it? Like, hammerhead sharks, I believe, tiger sharks, bull sharks, a few other species. There are certain things that they do with their body that they can create certain types of sounds, like even like grunting noises, but it's not necessarily vocal. I wonder if this is different. Click-like noises made by a small species of shark represent the first instance of a shark actively producing sound. Um, let's take a deeper look. So who do we have here? Mostellus lenticulatus. It's not hitting me the specific species. Well, I mean that it is showing you the genus species right there. Just what's the English name? That's ecclesiastic Latin, most likely mixed with Greek. Thanks to Jaws' pulsing, pounding theme, dun, sharks are synonymous with a spine-chilling sound. In reality, they silently swim and scarf down prey without making a peep. Until now, that is. These fish have just broken their silence. A team of researchers recently recorded sharks of one species making short, high frequency clicks when the animals were handled underwater. The study results, published this week in Royal Society Open Science, represent the first known occurrence of a shark actively producing sound. The sounds were first observed by marine biologist Carolyn Nider, lead author of the new study, while she was working on her PhD at the University of Auckland in New Zealand. Her project was focused on the hearing capabilities of several sharks, including the rig shark, a small species that is native to the coastal waters around New Zealand. But something odd happened when Nider handled the rig sharks between tests. It would start to crackle. At first, we had no idea what it was because sharks were not supposed to make any sounds. I remember coming home and just thinking more and more about how weird those sounds were. So take a look. More than 1,000 fish species are known to produce sounds. Oh, well, that is true. So it's not just endemic to sharks. There are a wide variety of different species of fish that um, do produce different types of tones. Usually by vibrating their swim bladder, a gas filled organ that helps the animals stay buoyant and can also act as an amplifier. But rigs and other sharks lack a swim bladder. Let's see. To determine if the rigs were actually generating the crackling sounds, Nider and her colleagues placed 10 juveniles, these are younger sharks, one at a time into tanks that were outfitted with sound recorders. The researchers held each rig for 20 seconds and analyzed the resulting audio recordings. Each of these sharks produced high frequency clicks, which lasted only a fraction of a second. The researchers recorded significantly more clicks in the first 10 seconds of the handling session than they did in the last 10 seconds, suggesting the sounds represented the rig's response to being startled by their handlers. Hmm, interesting. The frequencies of the clicks were mostly outside the rig's hearing range, which casts doubts that the sharks use them to communicate. They do fall within the hearing range of several toothed shark whales, several toothed whales that hunt rigs, however. Researchers have observed cod making similar clicking sounds to potentially spook nearby seals. I did not know that. Wow, that is shocking. Oh, to determine how the rigs were making the click like sounds without a swim bladder, the team created three-dimensional reconstructions of the fish's jaws and teeth. Rigs have a distinct set of flattened teeth, which are arranged in overlapping rows to allow the animals to crack open crab shells. The team hypothesizes that the rig's mosaic of teeth produced the clicks as the fish snapped their jaws together. According to Dennis Higgs, a marine biologist at the University of Windsor in Ontario, the paper presents a compelling case that some sharks produce sounds. He thinks that more work needs to be conducted, however, to determine whether these sounds are part of Riggs' audible repertoire or just their response to being handled. The open question is, would the sharks make the noises in more natural circumstances? Neither agrees and plans to conduct additional behavior experiments to learn more about what triggers the shark's clicks. She also hopes to conduct similar experiments with rigs and other shark species in natural environments. Though the new paper presents the first evidence of a shark making a sound, recent research has revealed that two other types of cartilaginous fish, rays and skates, also make noise. Scientists
Thought
have
they were sharks.
um
Well, the ray.
no, that is true. These cartilaginous, so rays and skates are members of the shark family. So manta rays, stingrays, they're all sharks. Scientists have observed multiple species of wild stingrays in both Indonesia and Australia, and rays and skates in the Mediterranean, making click like noises when they have been approached by divers. Sharks and stingrays diverged more than 200 million years ago. So it was at the beginning of the Jurassic when this isn't when the sharks first evolved, it's just simply when the rays and the sharks just split. Apparently, it was at the beginning of the Jurassic, which is interesting. I thought it was further back, maybe Permian, Carboniferous period. So, somewhere between 380 to no 280 to 340 million years ago. This presents the possibility that sound production is an ancient trait that is widespread among sharks and their cartilaginous skin. We used to think these fish couldn't do it. They are proving us wrong. It's worth listening in on more shark species. I believe that is it. Okay. So they're making some sort of a clicking sound. Let's head to the next article. Okay, so from Iowa State University, um, exquisite saber-toothed skull offers clues about Ice Age predator. So let's see. The recent discovery of a saber-toothed cat skull in southwest Iowa is the first evidence the prehistoric predator once inhabited the state. The chance of wait, it is? That's interesting. Unless this is a specific species of saber-tooth that it's talking about, possibly the Smilodonti lineage of saber-tooths. This is quite remarkable. I thought we had already found different specimens of saber-tooths over in Iowa. Maybe dating to earlier in time, not just the Pleistocene. So I'm thinking of somewhere around 800,000 years ago, maybe further back in the Pliocene, so over 4 million years ago, or the Miocene, over 8 million years ago. Let's take a deeper look. The chance of finding any fossilized remains from a saber-toothed cat is slim, said Matthew Hill, an associate professor of archaeology at Iowa State and an expert on animal bones. The remarkably well-preserved skull found in Page County is even rarer, and its discovery offers clues about the iconic Ice Age species before its extinction roughly 12 to 13,000 years ago. The skull is a really big deal. Finds of this animal are widely scattered and usually represented by an isolated tooth or bone. This skull from the East Nishnabutna River is in near perfect condition. It's exquisite. He'll analyze the specimen in collaboration with David Esterla, distinguished university professor emeritus of biology at Northwest Missouri State University. Their findings are newly published in quaternary science reviews. The quaternary is referring to basically the Pleistocene until now, so around 2 to 2.2 million years ago to the present day, also known as the Pleistocene. The researchers used radiocarbon dating to determine the cat died at the end of the Ice Age between 13,605 and 13,460 years ago. This right last 2,000 years until the end of the Pleistocene. It's quite interesting. Hill says it may have been one of the last saber-tooths to walk the planet as glaciers receded and temperatures rose. Oh, that's a sad story. We think Southwest Iowa.
Now, when it says saber tooths,
I'm guessing it could be Smilodon, either Fatalis or Gracilis, which is the
so
smallest of.
it's relating to felines, though.
Yes, this is a cat. So the saber-tooths are members of Felidae. So let's see. Just more specifically, the macrodontomorphs of the Felidae lineage.
But I meant it's not referring to the marsupials.
Oh no, 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 not those. Not the Nimravids. It's the one in which animals like Thylacophilus are a part of, which existed much earlier in time. Let's see. Yeah, these are placentals. So we think southwest Iowa during this period was a parkland with patches of trees interspersed with grassy openings, somewhat similar to central Canada today. The cat would have lived alongside other extinct animals like dire wolf, giant short-faced bear, long-nosed peccary, flat-headed peccary, stag, moose, musk oxen, giant ground sloth, maybe a few bison, probably the ancient giant woodland bison, mammoth, guessing Columbian mammoth if we're talking about Iowa. And the dire wolf was about the size of today's gray wolf, but it was not the same genus or even species or even genus. So today's gray wolf is Canis lupus, whereas the dire wolf was Inoscion, which was somewhere between 150 to 170 pounds or a little over 80 kilograms. So long nose. Okay. Also, the stag moose was much larger than today's. Let's see. Hill and Esterla believe the skull belonged to a subadult 2 to 3 year old male when it died. Gaps between the skull's bony plates indicate its head was still growing, and the permanent teeth don't show much wear from cutting and chewing. To figure out its sex, they compared its skull measurements with adult male and female saber-toothed skulls from the Rancho La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles. Well, that would make sense considering there have been a wide variety of different specimens of large carnivores from the Ice Age in the La Brea tar pits in California. So, I think when it comes to saber tooths, I think somewhere around 40 to 200 have been discovered there. Now let's see. Hill explains saber-tooths were sexually dimorphic, meaning males were larger than females. Since the Iowa skull is larger than many male skulls from the tar pits, the researchers argue it belonged to a male. They estimate the Iowa cat belonged or weighed about 550 pounds at death, or pushing around what 260 kilograms, and may have approached 650 pounds or 320 kilograms as an adult in prime physical condition. Oh, okay. We're talking about Smilodon fatalis. This is not gracilis. In comparison, the average adult male African lion weighs about 400 pounds. That varies depending on the population. You venture down to certain parts of like Botswana, and they become much bigger. So let's see, even parts of Tanzania as well. However, how the saber-toothed cat died is not clear. The broken canine might offer a clue. Hill and Esterla speculate the animal was seriously injured while attacking prey, which ultimately proved fatal within the days of the trauma. Small patches of worn down bone on top of the skull indicate it slid along a river bottom before coming to rest and then buried for thousands of years. That sounds freaky. Is there a flood or something? Or maybe it got hit and then, hmm. Well, there's a very, well intact skull, very neatly polished. So we can learn a lot from these types of fossils. They hold clues about the ecology of the animals, how they respond to dramatic climate change, and the appearance of a new predator and competitor on the landscape, including people. Iowa is a fantastic laboratory to do research on extinct ice age animals and the people who are just beginning to share the landscape with them. Research opportunities with the saber-toothed skull do not end with the published analysis in quaternary science reviews. Hill suspects the cat's primary prey was Jefferson's giant ground sloth, which were common in Iowa during the Ice Age. They'd sit beside trees and bushes and pull leaves and buds to eat. At 8 to 10 feet tall and over 2,200 pounds or 1,000 kilograms, giant ground sloths were massive. Well, so this is Jefferson's ground sloth, so it's like a medium sized ground sloth. Hill believes only a large predator armed with absolutely lethal jaws and claws and legs designed for pouncing could hunt them regularly. Yeah, you probably didn't have like short-faced bears going after giant ground sloths. Um, to test this, Hill is teaming up with his Iowa State colleague Andrew Somerville, assistant professor of archaeology, and experiment in dietary reconstruction using bone geochemistry. Together, they're developing a stable isotope mixing model with samples from the saber-toothed cat, other carnivores and herbivores, Jefferson's ground sloth, muskox, stag moose. Wow. So, okay, they're doing the study with quite a range of animals. You are what you eat, and sloths in your bones. Okay. Um, Stable isotopes make it possible for researchers to know what plants herbivores eat and, in turn, what herbivore carnivores eat. They can piece together local food webs and how species filled ecological niches. Well, because occasionally I eat fish, and I did evolve from a fish. So maybe the saber tooth was primarily eating giant ground sloth, dire wolves primarily moose, and short-faced bears, a little bit of everything. Yeah, that's very true. Andrew and I are going to figure it out. Of course, you didn't have the results. Okay. Um, so, this was quite interesting from what's going on with the crisis with the African penguins over on the coasts of South Africa and Namibia to this specific death of this saber tooth. What was it? With those bees living in a bone. And what was the other thing? Not the not kangaroos. What was that? With the bears? Am I confusing somebody? I was very sad with the whale bones and or the mammoth bones that turned out to be whale bones. Let's see. What was the thing over in Africa that went over? Oh, was it the ostriches being sent to Saudi Arabia? That was quite interesting. I wasn't expecting um a rewilding effort in the region. I was, quite surprised. So, hope you enjoyed this live stream. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. If you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know. Because nothing